What's up, bro?
What's up, man?
No,
Yeah,
bro. You already know me, bro.
I do already know you. All right. For those people who don't know you, who are you?
My name is Jesse, and I sing for a band called It Is What It Is.
He sings for an amazing band called It Is What It Is, and
Thank you.
dude, honestly, yeah, I can't compliment you guys enough. You guys have been like killing it since the beginning where you guys started, and correct me if I'm wrong. When you started, was it just a project that you started on your own?
Yeah. It was just something that I was doing on my own, just cause like I don't know. I wasn't sure if I wanted to hop back into a band, but I was really just writing this music at first for like me, because like that's why I do music first and foremost. It's for a way for me to sort of deal with the shit that I go through, and just like it's for me.
Yeah, yeah. I remember because I met you when you played in a band. What was the band that I mean, you were Charles Man, but I met you in the one before that. What was the one before that?
I believe it was called a band called Create the Cure.
Create the Cure. Yeah, the first time we played
Shout out
together.
Mike and Taylor.
Yeah, shout out Mike and Taylor. Was at Sons of Herman Hall was the first time I saw you guys.
Dude.
That place was great, but it was also the worst. That upstairs thing.
It was so fucking sketchy having to see bands like load these big ass tall cabs upstairs. I mean, I don't do any of that because I'm a fucking diva. But
Yeah.
but just like seeing like bands load these like huge 8-10 cabs up a flight of stairs, I'm like, I'm thankful that I don't got to do that.
You know what? I was honestly waiting for one of those to just come sliding all the way down. It had to have happened at least once. Like, I
Yeah.
know it had to happen at least once, but I was like, you know what? I sing. I don't have to do anything. I'll be up there. I'll man the merch table. I'm chilling. I'm working in my own way. I feel like.
See, honestly, bro, like that's more than I do because half the time I'm not even at the merch table just because like people are trying to talk to me and it's just like you got to make that FaceTime with people at shows you play.
Yeah, but that's like a job in itself though. Like you have to like the mingling part is like if people come up to you and start talking to you, then you can't just be like, oh, like, hey, what's up? I'm gonna go away. Like that's
No.
part of the whole thing. Like you have to sit like take your time and talk to these people. And it's not really like a job. It's not
No.
hard. It's like you want to talk to these people. These are the people
Yeah.
that like enjoy your music and like just saw you play or came to see you play and like want to talk to you about it. Like it takes nothing just to talk to them, and it's usually fun because I mean for us we get to talk about what we love.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that we love. This is like with these bands, yeah, like we want to like we want to have some sort of notoriety and some sort of like something to show for it. But at the end of the day, like these bands are just like a passion thing.
Yeah.
And like who's not gonna want to sit there and talk about the thing that they're passionate about? They're passionate about the most.
Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite things to do with like anybody, like artists or anything you love to do. If you like love it and want to talk to me about it, like
Yeah.
I'm all here for it because it's so cool to hear somebody talk about something they like are passionate about, something they love, and it's easy to be like listen, it's like oh my god, like these people like love what they're doing and like
Sure.
enjoy it and like you're definitely one of those people that like I've talked to about like creating music before, and especially like with It Is What It Is. I feel like we've talked a little bit more about like writing processes and just like as far as like you've come along, like some of the songs that you like just put out. I remember you showing them to me like a bit before when you were like writing them and stuff. Like
Yeah.
I remember Hilt like before you dropped it, you showed me and I'm like I fucking love Hilt. Like I
Bro,
remember like I really love Hilt, and then when it finally dropped, it's like oh like I already heard this one like but like I
Yeah.
was mad excited when you guys like dropped that. It was like that was a fucking killer track, definitely.
Dude, thank you. And it's funny, like that track came together in such a special and like fast way. Like, so how that happened was one day I was like, so I usually write either at night or in the morning. And I had that like very beginning, I had that, and like that's all I had was just that little loop.
Just the loop of the
Yeah,
beginning.
and then I text my friend Joe, and I was like, bro, you gotta get me in, bro. Like I have something, but I didn't have anything yet, But like I was so excited off that one idea. I was like, bro, this gonna be something.
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, come through with it. So like, very fucking, next day, I'm in there, and me and him and this guy named Adam, who I was riding with at the time, came through, and we all just sort of assembled the song that day, and I didn't have any lyrics, any fucking melody, you know. So it was one of those where I was in the booth just like going, just going off the top of my head, see what fucking felt right, see what sounded right, and it was kind of one of those songs where I had to put the meaning after the fact, after it was done, because I write in a lot of different ways where like so like sometimes I'll write like on the spot in the booth, like whatever comes out, but then there are other songs where I'll sort of, okay, like here's the chords I'm gonna play here, and I'm gonna say this here, but then I'm gonna, you know, talk about this here next.
Yeah.
You know, like I write in many different ways. I've been writing songs since I was 10.
Oh wow.
So I've been doing it almost 20 years now, and I found that there's no one way to write a good song. You know, just
I feel like that's true. Like when it comes to writing, not I don't think like I don't have a formula. When people like, because I mean I'm sure you get asked like, but I've been asked like, oh, like how do you go about writing a song? And I'm like, I have no idea. Like, because every song that I've written has come about in a different way. You know, like something hit on this one. This one, I knew specifically what I was writing about. You know, when I started writing about this one, I had no clue what I was writing about. This, like, there's, you know, one song I think when we wrote like Wasted Ages, like for us, is like,
I love that one.
I had no clue what that song was pretty much done instrumentally, and I had nothing. Like I was like, I don't know what this song's about, and I would just like listen to it. I would be like, hey, play that chorus and loop it. Like I don't know. And the first thing, and I only came up with a melody, which is that dun, 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 but I was like, and I came up with the word wasted, and I'm like, all right, that's all I know. I was like, all I know is that word's in here for some reason, and it took like I sat down with it like in one day, and I'm like, I have one word, okay, sit down, and then like once like I figured out why like that one word like came out, because obviously like, it was in my head or something. It took me like an hour to write the entire thing, and I'm like, but that was that moment, you know what I mean? And I've had other songs where I've struggled with them, you know what I mean? Like I'm like, I don't know, like this is about, or you know, one of our like recent songs, and like I had like somebody help me out with it. Like it's like, oh, this is what I think is, you know, our guitarist was like, this is what I think it should be about, and I'm like, okay, so I talked to him and we ran with his idea, kind of thing. So, which I think you talked to me about, like I forgot what song you were talking about, but you wrote it with like one of your band members.
Yeah. So that's one of our one of our newer songs. Yeah. And I won't, cause so in the beginning I wrote everything, but like as I've had this you know group of guys for 4 years, like they can write some bangers too. Yeah. So which is good on me as like a songwriter, because you're not gonna always write a good song like every like month or every couple weeks. So it's cool to have them as like good songwriters too. So whenever I'm not writing, whenever I'm in a rut, one of them will come in with a badass song. Or if you know, it's just like there's always stuff coming up, because we're all four of us can songwrite.
And that's. It makes stuff difficult time, but also like helps out so much with like ideas you have when you have like songwriters. Because if not, like, because there's people like that have like their bands, you know what I mean, like and just the bands just play with like, hey, play with like I wrote kind of thing. Yeah. But when something like that, it's really cool because everybody has an individualistic like input into your music. Very much. And so. I feel like that's like you guys have a lot of strong like songwriters, and I'm like that's really cool that they can like rely on like, hey, like. Someone else comes, you know, one of your guitar players, or, you know, one of the other band members comes and is like, I have this idea. Yeah. All right, screw it. Let's roll with it. You know what I mean? And the fact that you guys can do that, you know, that you guys aren't like, you know, I guess like, you know, people run into like egos and stuff like that, where you guys are more like you built like your team kind of thing with that band. And like, you know, like that's why you guys work well together. Cause like you guys, you know, have designed it that way, you know what I mean, for it to be your team kind of thing, and it shows, you know what I mean, in your songwriting and the way you guys play live shows. Like I feel like people see that. Yeah,
you know, like from the jump, because you know these four, I mean these three guys that I'm with, like we had never played together before or even really hung out all four of us, because I knew them each from like you know different parts of the scene, you know, and we all just came together, and it was like magic. We're like, damn, this is something here. But as far as going back to like the songwriting, is like as like, you know, them, you know, bringing a song, or me, like, again with like the whole thing with like, you really have to check your ego if you're really gonna do it that way. As far as like someone bringing in a song, and you know, you feel a part should be one way, but then everyone else is like, no, 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 let's do it like, let's do it like this. You know, like, there's a whole lot of, you know, give and take, but also like knowing your role in the song, knowing your role, like what are you gonna bring to the song that's not gonna like conflict with like the end goal of
The end
it,
goal,
you
which
know?
is, you know, with everybody writing a good song.
We're
Like,
writing a
that's
good
the
song, yeah,
and,
that's gonna hit.
Yeah, that's kind of what you want. And I've had, you know, like, just, I feel like at a certain point you realize like, oh, I don't have like, all my ideas aren't good. And like, once you get like past that, it's like, okay,
Yeah,
let's
for
take
sure.
input from everybody else. Cause I've had that before where I'm like, oh, like, it should just be like this just cause I wanted to get a song done.
Yeah.
And then with other input with the other band members and stuff like that, it's like, oh, it grew into something that I didn't have up here. Like, you know,
I love that.
I'm limited up here, and like, and they helped like broaden that kind of like, you know, idea around like, oh, I would have never thought that on my own. That's
Yeah.
why I love like the fact of like being in a band where you're like, oh, like, they help you kind of broaden your horizon.
You aren't
push your limits.
alone.
Yeah.
You're not alone, which is because like again, like I can't always like write a song like every day. I mean, I could if I tried, but like, is it gonna mean anything?
Yeah.
You know, which is like which is like a huge thing to me. Like, I'm not just gonna write a song a certain way because I know it works, or you know, there's like a formula. I mean, yeah, like I will follow a formula sometimes, but that's if I'm going for that.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of our songs, like Hilt and like, you know, Safe Word, there's no structure. Like Hilt only has one hook. You know, Safe Word doesn't really have a hook. You know, it's just a minute and a half of like just pure raw emotion. It's just a whole ride.
Yeah.
You know, and like that's what I feel like our songs are. They're a ride. They're a moment of energy captured in like 2, 3, 4 minutes.
I feel like that, yeah. Honestly, moments of energy is like the perfect way to describe that. Because like, I remember when I first heard like the 2-song like little project, when you guys, like, first 2 singles that you guys put out,
Yeah.
together, like those two were like that, and I'm like, and that was, I think that I had just seen you guys live for the first time too, at Reno's, yeah, at Reno's,
Yeah,
and that show
was
was
a fun one.
it was so like lit, it's so fun, and like, and then like hearing those like together, and I'm like, because I remember when I like took some video guys and was like editing it together, and I was like, oh, what music did it have? Let me listen to it again, and like I found that song. I think it's Safe Word. No. What are the 2 songs on that?
One is called The Safe Word is Satire. The Safe
right?
Word is Satire.
Yeah. Okay, wait, so yeah, that was the one that I was like, this fits perfectly with like this energy that was like there that night. You
The
know
energy
what I mean?
of like the film and the whole show.
And and I was like, that's what I felt that night. You know what I mean? Like, it was nice. It's a really loud, just like a freaking burst of just energy that you get in a song. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's just in your face, and it's just like, listen to this, and it's like, it's good.
Yeah.
No, man, I really love that. When it comes to music, I guess I'll move on to this next question. Is I'm gonna do this in a 2-parter. One is, what do you think for It Is What It Is, or like your personal like biggest like influences that you see coming through in it?
Okay. So like, as far as like me personally, okay. So personally, for this project, originally I was drawing from bands like Dads and bands like You Blew It, and like, I don't know, just there's all those like emo, like, you know, twinkly like bands. But then as I started to write with my team, we're like, yeah, like we want to keep that like sort of like sound, but like do it like bigger and better and stronger, you know. And so as time went on, I started getting influenced by like bigger bands like Fall Out Boy and the the Foo Fighters and fucking Green Day, just like big ass bands,
Bigger bands.
Yeah, just because like we were going for like we were going for a bigger sound than I originally thought for.
Yeah.
Which is great, you know. And I guess part of that is who I took influence from, as far as being a front person.
Yeah.
You know, because I took a lot of inspiration from like people who played guitar or bass and like sang front, because like that's what I was gonna be doing, you know. So I was really I was really looking up to Joan Jett and like to Robert Smith of The Cure, Green Day, Nirvana, just like bands like that have like a good songwriter at the helm, at the front. You know, they're playing the songs that they wrote and they're singing them, and that's who I saw. And like not only that, like yes, they're like songwriting, but also like the way that they commanded the crowd and like how they were able to get the whole crowd to be one being for that hour or like half hour that they're playing, and to be able to put everyone in their own world without even having to move around or do these little like flips and shit on stage, just from playing their heart out. That's what I took to heart as far as me being a front person.
Because this is your first time that you actually get to be like a front person, right?
Yeah.
And I remember you talking to me and being like, I'm kind of like scared about like how. I remember we were talking about like performing and stuff like that. It's like, I've never been like at the front, you know what I mean? Like, and it's a whole nother different experience, but like I feel like you took to it like really well. I know you were nervous, like, because I only know because you told me, because after, but like seeing you up there, I'm like, that's what he's like supposed to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like he was supposed to be at the front. Like, I don't know why it took him that long to get there, but you know what I mean? I'm glad you did. I'm glad
of my voice.
Yeah. And that's another thing. And that, like the vocals that you do, like, I'm not gonna lie. Like I've tried to sing some of those songs like home and I can't do that at all. It's hard. It's such a skill.
Thank you, man. Like it's hard because like, oh, hold on. Someone's calling me.
Someone's calling him. God.
Shit. Let me see who's. Who called my phone right now?
Who called my phone right now?
I'm doing fucking important shit.
We'll be right back. This is your first time you actually like fronted a band, right?
Yeah. This is the first time I'm like in front, because for years and years and years I was always either playing bass or playing guitar. I never really sang in front of people or anything, and so it was kind of like, you know, nerve-wracking. You know, just sort of the thought of like doing that. Plus the way I sing is sort of differently. You know, like I take inspiration as far as like the way I sing from like these older punk bands that sort of have like a sort of like screech to them, you know, but it's still like, but then I was really obsessed with the thought of adding that raw emotional feeling with like a melody behind it, because like that's what turns off a lot of people from all that stuff, is the lack of the melody in the vocals. I was like, if I could pull off both, I'm gonna do it, because I've heard it done with bands like Polar Bear Club and Jawbreaker, and just like, you know, bands like that have a little bit more grit to their voice, but it's still super melodic, super fun, super heartfelt, super emo.
And I feel like it helps drive your lyrics through because of like the type of like, you know, raw emotion captured in like that kind of like, you know, rasp singing where it's like really like harsh singing, but you can still catch a melody and like follow that melody. Yeah. And that's the combination that I think you were looking for, and you found it, man. Like honestly, like that's why like your songs hit, and like kind of like even if you're like first hearing the song, you get the feeling of that like emotion. You can definitely tell on it. And you do an excellent job with it. Like honestly,
thank you.
The other part of that question was, so those are your influences and stuff. But what would you say? Like, are you like I mean, I personally know, but I want like them to know. What are some of like your favorite artists? Just like in general.
Some of my favorite artists.
I won't say all of them because I know we all have like a ton of them.
That's a loaded question there, bud. Some of my favorite bands are Silverstein, Green Day, um, American football, cap and jazz. I really like. I've actually been sort of like not listening to a lot of rock nowadays. I've listened to more like more like pop music and just more like not as like wow like not as like big like sounds because now as a vocalist my main thing that I want to build up is my knack for writing like my knack for writing super catchy like vocal parts without like giving up the punk.
Yeah.
Because punk music's me through and through, and just but I also want to be able to like to have people like sing along and be confident about like the notes and stuff. I don't know. It's weird.
I definitely get what you're saying as far as like just trying to make like something catchy, because I've in growing like music I've like started like oh I like stuff that's catchy. Before like I feel like when I was younger I'd be like oh that's too simple, this and that, but like it's honestly what keeps the song memorable. It keeps if you go and like there's those songs that all you know is the chorus kind of thing, but you're still singing them. You know what I mean? Like you still like
Every
to participate. It makes you feel like you're part of the song too, even though that's the only part but you know it. You know what I mean? And pop songs are a great way like that I've like listened to, because I'll listen to like every now and then I'll go and listen to like oh what are people listening to, like what's being catchy, and just like learn melodies and just catch it, like things like that,
and learn from it.
And look, because you can literally anything you listen to you'll learn from. It doesn't matter what it is you'll get that adaptability. And that's cool. I'm glad that's kind of like where you're headed at. And then I know we're running a little bit out of time, but
it's cool.
I mean the whole thing about this podcast is this is like the Chill Sounds and Breakdowns podcast. So I know your guys will be playing that August 28th. How do you guys feeling about that?
if you don't go, I'll be sad, and I'll probably write a really good song about it. And I'll play it. No,
so like, you're gonna make them not go because they're gonna be like, I want to hear this banger. It's about to come out.
Dude, I promise you, my head it is really really not that big.
But honestly, like it's gonna be such a fun time. It's gonna be it's actually like the festival has grown. It's free, so like if you don't go, I don't know, like, because there's going to be so many things there, like, awesome bands, like It Is What It Is, tons of other bands, tons of vendors. There's going to be out there, like, local vendors for you to check out, and a bunch of, like, cool little surprises. And food trucks.
Food trucks. Bro, I swear to God, I'm finna be in that hole with a fucking beer and tacos in my hand. If I'm not playing, I'm hitting that fucking beer ski.
Hey,
you know what I mean? Like shit.
It's like right now, baby. Ooh.
Oh shit, let's just do it, man.
Let's do it right here. It's like
cheers to you, buddy.
Cheers. So yeah, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Of course,
Once again, Jesse from It Is What It Is. Come catch him at Chill Sounds and Breakdowns on August 28th, and just come vibe out. It's free. BYOB. Do whatever you want. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, it's going to be fucking fun.
Thanks for coming, buddy.
See y'all there.
I hope it just happens on accident.